TV.
That's right, every
Don't put my
Thursday at
box on the
9
thing,
p.m.
Monica.
But I don't know.
Right here, right?
It's important. It wasn't a coconut one, just saying.
This time check is brought to you by Massey Stores Home, your way to a beautiful home in the Gablewood Shopping Mall.
Good night, Lucia, and welcome to another episode of Police Insight. I'm your host, Sergeant Zachary Hippolyte of the Royal St. Lucia Police Force. I'd like to say good night to our Police Commissioner, Mr. Milton Daisy, all executive members of the Royal St. Lucia Police Force, gazette officers, inspectors, sergeants, corporals, constables, senior and junior constables. How you guys doing? Special police constables, special reserve police officers, good night to you. Ex-police officers, thank you for the service you have given to your country. Okay? One day I'll be there. One day I will be there. But the next couple of years, if God save me. I'd like to say good night to the city police. Good night to our brothers and sisters in law enforcement, St. Lucia Fire Service, Bodley Correctional Facility. Good night to you. Port Police, how you guys doing? On Customs, I'd like to say good night to you. We're live on the best choice, and that is Choice Television. There are other stations that try to copy what's happening here, but they can copy, but they could never duplicate what Police Insight is. And as you know, we're also on the live streaming platform, Choice TV, on Facebook. Yeah, so just check it out. I'd like to say good night to, well, Forbidden One is already saying good night. Good night to you, cuz. That's Savina Charles. Good night to you. Angela Hippolyte, good night to you. Glenn Prudent of Massad. Tekla Preville. Hi, Mom. How you doing? Of Babuno, good night to you. Heather Smith, good night to you. All the officers of the Community Relations Branch, Inspector Chico, Officer Lubin, Fauché, Pascal, and Dennis. I'd like to say good night to you all. People you see tonight, you need to tell a friend that they need to tune in, because tonight we have two esteemed women, police women from the organization, and they are representing the vulnerable persons team. So we're going to be discussing the role of, you heard that term, VPT. Okay, Vulnerable Persons Team, VPT. You'll be hearing that a lot tonight. So we're going to be discussing the role of the VPT. We're going to be discussing sexual offenses, investigations. So this is where you tell a friend that we're live on Choice Television as we now move on with this excellent, and I have no doubt, educational and eye-opening show. So first of all, I will introduce the individual which is closer to me, my closest right, and that is none other than Corporal Augustin. Corporal Augustin, I'd like to say good night to you, Corporal. How are you doing?
I'm good, good night.
And to my far right, right over there, but not too far, is Sergeant Baptiste. I'd like to say good night to you, Sergeant Baptiste. How are you?
Good night, Sergeant. Good, thanks.
Okay, so first of all, let's get the ball rolling. Sergeant Baptiste, I'll start with you. Can you tell St. Lucia a little bit about yourself?
I am Sergeant 701 Baptiste, as you would have already heard from Sergeant Hippolyte. I have been a police officer for the past 16 years. For most of my years of service in the Royal St. Lucia Police Force, I have been involved in investigations. Most recently, I've been attached to the Vulnerable Persons team as the sergeant in charge. I enjoy being a police officer. I am a people-oriented person, and I am delighted to be part of the Vulnerable Persons team, which is a great team where we seek to add value, purpose, and also transform the lives of persons who walk through the doors of the Vulnerable Persons team.
Excellent, Sergeant. And Corporal, please tell St. Lucia a little bit about yourself.
Good evening, listeners. My name is Augustin, Corporal 239. I've been a police officer for about 8 years now, and during my tenure in the police force, I've worked at the Major Crimes Unit and the Vulnerable Persons Team. My passion is to serve the people of St. Lucia, especially the Vulnerable Persons Team, and in so doing to ensure that when persons come to the unit to make a report, they leave feeling better than the way they came.
Excellent, excellent, Corporal. So as you could see, ladies and gentlemen, we have experience here, we have brains and beauty. Yeah, members of the Royal St. Lucia Police Force from the Vulnerable Persons Team. So let's get on with it. Ladies, okay, we've heard about the VPT. Can you give us a little history about the Vulnerable Persons Team?
Okay, the Vulnerable Persons Team is a unit within the Royal St. Lucia Police Force, which was established in 2007 with a department in the north and one in the south. Prior to the VPT being established, there was a sexual offense unit that dealt with rape, but there was no special department to deal with child abuse and domestic violence. At the time, the Royal St. Lucia Police Force saw it necessary to have a special unit to deal with the vulnerable groups in society, and the vulnerable groups would be children, the elderly, persons who are physically, intellectually, or psychiatrically disabled. During the years prior to 2007, there was an increase of cases against these vulnerable groups. The police were also investigating several rapes against female adults and needed to give attention to these investigations. Additionally, the organization took into consideration the sensitivity of some of these matters. Sexual offenses is a unique crime. It carries a strong stigma that victims often they don't receive the same understanding, compassion, and support that is often offered to other crimes.
And that is so true, Corporal. It's a different total kettle of fish when it comes to sexual offenses, right?
Yes. So they needed to create an environment to provide some sort of comfort to these victims. So the department in the north deals with reports that are made from canneries to basically the Badali, that's all the Badali.
And it's like the Bexo area?
Yes, and the Southern Division would investigate matters from Soufrière to Dennery.
Oh, so there's a Southern VPT?
Yes, one in the north and one in the south.
Okay, excellent.
Yes, our opening hours are Monday to Friday from 8 a.m. to 4:30. But we have officers on call every day to deal with reports that come after 4:30.
Okay, I'm so happy you said so, because when you said 8 a.m. to 4:30, I'm sure the listening audience would be wondering, so if something happens to me in terms of a sexual offense at 6 p.m., what happens? Yes. So you guys are on call?
Every day.
Every day. Okay, excellent, excellent. Let's move right along. Let's speak about the duties and responsibilities of the persons of the VPT.
The Vulnerable Persons Team is responsible for investigating all sex-related crimes involving both children and adults. The team is also responsible for investigating matters of domestic violence and child abuse. The duties of the officers at the unit involves and is not limited to interviewing victims and witnesses, visiting crime scenes, working with crime scene investigators, pursuing leads to identify perpetrators, and there are cases where perpetrators will be arrested and investigators will work alongside prosecution to build cases against these offenders. The Vulnerable Persons Team also has the responsibility of reporting matters via referrals to the relevant agencies, including the Division of Human Services. which would have jurisdiction in some matters involving child abuse and other undesirable conditions and situations.
So there's no doubt that there are other agencies in play here when it comes to linking with the VPT. Can you inform St. Lucia what are these agencies and institutions, whether locally or internationally, that the Vulnerable Persons Team works with?
The VPT works closely with the Division of Human Services, also the Probations Department, and the Family Courts. The team also works with non-governmental organizations. It is incumbent on the VPT to work in collaboration with the Division of Human Services due to the fact that we deal with matters involving children.
Yes, yes.
And there are some instances where the police do not have jurisdiction, especially in cases of child abuse, where a child has to be removed from a home.
That's interesting.
So in such cases, the Division of Human Services would be very active along with the VPT. We also work with the Probations Department, and after the implementation of the Child's Justice Act, it was made mandatory that if a young person, if a juvenile becomes an offender, that this juvenile, a probation officer would have to be informed within 24 hours of the apprehension of this individual. So it's mandatory that we liaise and work in collaboration with the Probations Department. We also are privileged to work with non-governmental organizations, NGOs, and when we work with them, some of them are not privy to some of the people that we come across at the VPT. Having identified the needs of some of these individuals, we are able to obtain assistance from the non-governmental organizations to enable these individuals to obtain certain services that we, the police, would not at the time be able to afford them. And on that note, I would like to take the opportunity again to thank Raise Your Voice St. Lucia for assisting the Vulnerable Persons Team in collaboration with the Government of Canada, where we were provided with a well-equipped interview room, which does very well for the VPT. When persons come to the VPT, they refer to it as the nice room. So we were very lucky and privileged to have obtained this interview room in collaboration with a non-governmental organization, Raise Your Voice St. Lucia. So again, I say thank you to them.
Thank you so much, Sergeant. We are going to take our very first break. What is a child, according to the laws? What age? What's the age of a child? I'm going to ask that question when we come back. Stay tuned to Police Insight.
The St. Lucia National Housing Corporation invites tenants, residential and commercial, to participate in the Castries Housing Estate and Darling Road Housing Estate, affectionately known as the CDC Rent Reprieve, a Government of St. Lucia initiative to bring relief to the people. Conditions for the reprieve. All tenants must pay October and November 2021 rent. No rent is payable in December 2021. Outstanding debt will be forgiven. New leases will be drawn up in January 2022. October and November 2021 rent must be paid at the NHC headquarters in the Morgan Building, Morris Mason Avenue and Lance Road, Sanssouci, no later than October 30th, 2021. Be sure to keep the stamped copy of your receipt. For further information, call the NHC at 452-3801 or email nhc@candw.lc.
Now, Dove Farm Flowers at Nature's Best. Get your wholemeal rye flour and white rye flour for $9.95. Get wholemeal spelt flour and white spelt flour for $19.95. Or your wholemeal strong bread flour, strong white bread flour for $9.95. And get oat flour and coconut flour as low as $19. Get your gluten-free flours like brown bread flour, white bread flour, and seeded bread mix at the lowest prices. Purchase using your discount card to save more. Get yours now at Nature's Best, Falmouth Plaza Castries, and Marisol Grosley.
Welcome back to Police Insight. Your host here, Sergeant Zachary Hippolyte of the Royal St. Lucia Police Force. Thank you all for staying tuned. Those of you out there in TV land, let me just quickly check those of you in the Facebook chat room. Victor C. Anthony, good night to you. Favs Sherlin, Kelvin Knight, Amos Didier, Stephanie Cauldron, good night to you. Moncherie, good night to you. Anita Pinker Paul Valsin, always logged in. Barbara Labadie Burke, Marva Monrose, Peter Paul, Kedron C. Gustav, what's up, my brother? John Blaswana, how you doing, my dear? Good night to you. Barbara, oh, that's you again. And Ivy Mitchell, of course, Ivy's got to be there. I like to say good night to you all. Just before we continue the interview with our esteemed guest, we're going to present to you tonight's Know Your Laws. And tonight's Know Your Laws is Section 139 of the Criminal Code of St. Lucia, which speaks to soliciting sexual favors in the workplace. So for those of you who didn't know, it says, it is an offense for an employer or supervisor of an employee to make it reasonably appear to the employee that the prospects or working conditions of the employee are dependent upon the acceptance or tolerance by the employee of sexual advances or persistent sexual suggestions from the employer or supervisor. It is an offense for a prospective employer to make it reasonably appear to a person that A, an offer of employment to that person, or B, the terms on which employment is so offered is or are dependent on that person's acceptance or tolerance of sexual advances or tolerance of persistent sexual suggestions from the prospective employer. A person who commits an offense under subsections 1 or 2 is liable to summary conviction, imprisonment for 1 year. Okay? So, ladies, if you're going through that problem at work, you could make that report. And you employers, if in case you're doing that to our ladies, you need to stop it. So let's continue with our interview. Ladies, according to our laws, what is a child? What age range are we looking at when it comes to one being classified as a child?
According to the Criminal Code of St. Lucia, a child is a person under the age of 12 years old. A young person is between 12 years and 16 years. So a young person would be a person between 12 years and 16 years.
And I know that recently, I think since 2018, there was enacted a Child Justice Act. Is the Child Justice Act still in keeping with the Criminal Code, or it has a different definition for a child?
According to the Child Justice Act, a child is a person under the age of 18.
I see. So once you're 17, you could be considered a child according to the Child Justice Act.
Yes.
That's really interesting. Sergeant, in your opinion, is there some form of conflict when it comes to the age of sexual consent, which we know to be 16, and yet we have the Child Justice Act saying that anyone below 18 is a child? In your opinion, is there any form of conflict, or VPT deals with it as it comes?
I do not believe that it is conflicting because the Child Justice Act was really implemented to ensure that when juveniles are being dealt with as offenders, that they are dealt with justly. So it would be in a different context. I don't think it's contradicting at all.
Okay, so if you were to have an individual, let's say that is 16 or 17 as a suspect currently at the office, what are the conditions in terms of interviewing that person?
Every juvenile has to, like I said earlier, a probation officer would have to be informed that the child has contravened the law, and the necessaries would be done, an assessment has to be done to determine what's the situation with this child. In the case of a child making a report at the vulnerable persons team.
And the child can do that? Just come to VPT?
No.
Okay.
I was getting to this.
Excellent, Sergeant.
In the case of a child, we would need an appropriate, a suitable guardian. We would need the parent to be present. There are cases where the parent is not the suitable person. So in that case, we would contact the Division of Human Services, where we would get a social worker. But any report that comes to the VPT where the person is considered a child, we would have to deal with this matter in the presence of a social worker, the probation officer, a legal guardian, or a responsible adult.
Excellent. And you see, ladies and gentlemen, when we speak about the different collaborations with different entities, so it's not just the officers of the VPT working on their own, because you know when it comes to the matters that they investigate, there's so much sensitivity. Earlier on, we spoke of vulnerable persons. One of you spoke about vulnerable persons. We've heard that too, vulnerable persons. To the VPT, who or what are these vulnerable persons?
A vulnerable person or a group, a vulnerable group, is categorized as a group of people or a person who has a lessened capacity to anticipate, to cope with, to resist, or to recover from the impact of a certain situation. In other words, they are more susceptible to harm. They are not able to protect themselves against significant harm or exploitation. In the case of a child, the child is not fully able to defend himself or herself, and hence the reason children are referred to as being vulnerable. For the vulnerable persons team, we focus on vulnerable groups, children, including at-risk girls and boys between the ages of 6 to 16, victims of domestic violence, including pregnant women, the elderly, the mentally challenged, the differently abled individuals. So these groups, they are less capable of dealing with impacts of certain situations, and hence the reason they are referred to as vulnerable.
I see. Excellent, Sergeant. Now we come to the offenses investigated by the vulnerable persons team. I know there are lots of persons who are waiting to hear the different classifications of offenses. So, Corporal, you going to take this one?
Sure.
Okay, let's go.
The vulnerable persons team investigate all sexual offenses. Sexual offenses are acts which are considered either sexual abuse or behavior that society considers to be inappropriate and against social norms. According to the Criminal Code of St. Lucia, 2013, sexual offenses have been classified and defined from section 123 to 163. So I will tell you some of the most reported sexual offenses. We have rape, sexual intercourse with a person under the age of 12 years old, sexual intercourse with a person between 12 years and 16 years, incest,
Incest,
unlawful sexual connection, gross indecency, indecent assault, sexual intercourse with an adopted child, stepchild, foster child, ward or dependent, sexual intercourse with a minor employee, sexual intercourse with a person suffering from a mental disorder, inducing sexual intercourse or sexual connection by force, duress, or any other circumstances specified under Section 125.
That's a lot of offenses.
Yes.
And during your stint, Corporal, how long have you been working at the Vulnerable Persons team?
After my initial training, I worked there for 2 years. Then I went to the Major Crimes Unit. Then I came back in 2018, 2019. So in total, 4 years.
About 4 years?
About 4 years.
May I ask, Corporal, because you're definitely a young individual, does the investigation of those offenses have some form of impact on your mental health?
I would not say it has an impact on my mental health, but some situations can, I will not say affect you, but it...
Because we're human beings, so that would be okay, yeah.
Yeah, but amidst all of that, we have to be professional because we have persons coming to us and we need to help them, so we cannot let them see that we
are impacted or affected in any way.
Yes.
And that's one of the dynamic things about being a police, ladies and gentlemen. Sergeant, may I ask you in that vein, what is in place for our police officers who definitely have to come into contact with these types of scenes and those offenses have to investigate? What is in place in terms of their mental health?
Are you speaking of the VPT specifically?
Yes.
At the VPT, I always tell my staff that they should let it be known if they feel that they are being affected in any way, because you find people react to trauma differently.
That's right.
Some persons may just behave normal, like nothing has happened, but yet still, they're impacted by the constant situations that they encounter. So I always advise them, we know that the services are available.
That's
and
right.
we need to first admit that we are going through something, that we are being impacted some way, somehow, in order for us to receive help. So I have always said to them, if you feel that you need assistance, you need help, you're going through something, you need to come, inform me, you need to inform your supervisors that something is going on with you. The other thing that we do, we have sessions where we speak of the matters that we investigate.
Excellent.
We discuss them. So if one investigator is still in a particular way, this investigator is not left on her own. She's able to discuss with the entire team what's going on, what are the circumstances, and she can be advised as to the way forward and how to deal with that particular situation, because every report is not the same. Some are very ticklish, some are very heartbreaking. So I advise them, if you need help, let it be known, and if you need to discuss a situation, the team is always willing to sit and discuss.
Excellent. When I have issues, I'll come to you, Sergeant. I can tell you that. Corporal, you wish to add on to that?
Yes, I also wanted to add that the Vulnerable Persons team also investigate matters of child abuse, which include offenses such as harm, exposing a child under 7 to grievous harm, abandoning a child under 5 at a hospital.
Interesting.
Yes.
Interesting.
There are other offenses who would arise out of a sexual offense, such as kidnapping. So there'll be rape and kidnapping, robbery, and grievous harm. I wanted to add also that I wanted to give you some stats on
Sure, no problem.
Right.
No
So
problem,
in
Corporal. Give us the
2020,
stats.
in 2020, the Vulnerable Persons Team island-wide recorded 272 reports of sexual offenses.
Wow.
121 reports in the south and 150 in the north. And the offense that was reported the most is sexual intercourse with a person between 12 years and 16 years.
That was the most reported, between 12 and 16.
Yes, sexual.
This is a serious thing, people. Okay.
Yes. So far for 2021, the VPT has recorded 282 reports, 118 in the south and 170 in the north. And again, sexual intercourse with a person between 12 and 16 years is the most reported one.
It's the most prevalent. So there's no doubt that we have a serious issue there, ladies and gentlemen, where sexual intercourse with a person between the age of 12 and 16 years appears to be the most prevalent case.
I wanted to speak about
Go ahead,
the age
Corporal.
of consent as well. So the age of consent is 16 years.
The age of
according to the
consent is
criminal
16.
code. 16 years.
Okay, so tell them that again, Corporal.
But I still think they should wait until 18 years
to have sex. Yeah, that's your right.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
there are many effects of sexual intercourse.
At too much, in terms
As
of
a young
an early
age, there is depression, STDs, teenage pregnancy, and we want to avoid that. If I had it my way, I think the age of consent would be 18.
It will be 18, along with the age of voting. Okay, all right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take another break. In that segment, you heard a lot, especially of the fact that sexual intercourse, what I like to say, with a minor between the age of 12 and 16 is the most reported case at the VPT. When we come back, we will hear about the investigative process itself. What happens when you make a report at the VPT? Stay tuned.
Celebrate the season with a Christmas loan from the Royal St. Lucia Police and Allied Services Cooperative Credit Union Limited. Get up to $10,000 with no deposit necessary and quick 24 hours processing time. That's $10,000 just in time for the Christmas season. So ring in the holidays with a Christmas loan from the Royal St. Lucia Police and Allied Services Cooperative Credit Union Limited. Call or visit us today. Terms and conditions apply. Promotion ends December 31st, 2021.
It's here! The Super 6 jackpot is now $400,000! Get your tickets today!
Lucia customers whose accounts are in arrears are encouraged to call or send a WhatsApp message to our credit control section at 728-9752, 728-9754, 728-9755, or 728-9756 to make payment arrangements to settle your arrears. For bill balances, call our automated account inquiry service at 457-4433 and follow the prompts. Use myaccount.lucelec.com to obtain detailed account information and make online bill payments directly to Lucilec via debit or credit card or through your bank. Select the option to receive monthly bills via email. Customers can also pay bills through Shopee's online or walk-in service.
For the first time ever in St. Lucia, the Monopole Cooperative Credit Union offers loans to purchase the vehicle of your dreams, regardless of the age. We also provide full comprehensive insurance coverage for vehicles up to 15 years. Our interest rates start at 6.5% with only 10% deposit required. So feel free, dream, test drive, select. We're here to provide the finance and insurance to get you on the road regardless of the age. Monopole Cooperative Credit Union. Our people, our community, our credit union. Telephone 455-3370.
Good night. Welcome back once again to Police Insight as we continue this excellent and very informative interview with Sergeant Bissett and Corporal Augustin from the Vulnerable Persons team. Good night to Jason Hippolyte. You're watching from Casaba. Good night to Sherry Severin. Thank you all for supporting the show. Before the break, I said we'll be going into an investigative process, but we need to touch on something. Officers, esteemed ladies, can you educate our viewers on the difference between the offense of rape, sexual intercourse with someone between 12 and 16, and sexual intercourse with someone below the age of 12?
Okay. In sexual offenses, consent cannot be given by anyone below the age of 16 years. Consent cannot be given by any person below the age of 7 years, and that's according to Section 9 of the Criminal Code. Or by any person suffering from a mental disorder or any other permanent or temporary incapacity.
Permanent or temporary?
Yes, whether it be intoxication or any cause, unable to understand the nature and consequences of the act to which he or she would consent.
Okay.
So the difference between sexual intercourse with a person between 12 and 16 and rape, because the child cannot give consent to sexual intercourse, any person who has sex with them and they're under 16 would be considered sexual intercourse with a person between 12 and 16. Now, over 16, you can consent to sex. So if a person has sex with you without your consent, that would be considered rape, because you did not agree to have sex with the person.
I'm gonna give you a scenario, Corporal or Sergeant, but I think this needs to be properly explained. What if a male is having sexual intercourse with a female? The female has consented, but however, during the act, the female has decided that she no longer wants to have sex whilst the act is going on. What's the situation in that?
Okay, so if a male individual has sex with a female and during the act she decides that she wants to stop, she does not want to continue. If he continues, it's rape. Because if he continues, it's rape, because she has withdrawn consent. She doesn't want to continue. But if he continues, and you say, okay, just one more minute, no, that's rape.
So already?
No more minutes, no more seconds.
People say already?
To stop immediately.
So
she can consent. If she consents and she said, and she says, okay, let's do it. 1 minute into sex, she decides she doesn't want to continue, that's it. If you continue, that's rape. Rape. Don't continue.
So, men, you need to understand that when a female says no,
no is
it's no. Yeah? Let me ask you, Corporal, and people, you might be saying that I'm asking the Corporal other questions, it's just that she has a lot of investigative experience in those fields. What happens if the vulnerable person team members believes that a female has made a report that might be false in nature? Have you ever dealt with that? Or is it a call of the VPT to do that, to make that decision?
No, it's not. We're going to decide whether the report is true or false. We would have to investigate, and during the investigation or while the investigation is going on, we would come up with certain things based on what our statements, our interviews, and maybe even the victims say that it's not true. Sometimes they would say that.
So Sergeant, how would the VPT handle that in terms of, let's say, resources have already been used, because we all know investigations cost money, using the vehicle, manpower, etc., where a female has made a report, of rape. And let's say about 2 or 3 weeks into the investigation, the female has decided to say, Sergeant, I'm going to tell you the truth. It never happened that way, etc. How does the VPT handle that?
We have had several cases like this where persons come in, make a report, and the report is made because of different situations.
Okay.
The person may want some form of help, and as a result, they believe that if they come to the VPT to make such a report, they will receive the help that they need. In the event that the report is found false, and that's what investigation does, it confirms or it dispels, because the person, the virtual complainant may come in with a report, but you would have to investigate. First off, you would have to record a statement from that individual. 2 weeks, 3 weeks down the line, when you realize that the report is false, you would have to put it to the individual. You would have to let the virtual complainant know that this is what we have found, this is what you were saying, you put it to the virtual complainant. And in that case, what we have seen happen is that the virtual complainant will now say that the report I made, it wasn't the truth. I made it because of this, and I made it because of that. And what we would do is to record a statement from the complainant, because we would have already recorded a statement from the initial reports. So we would now go ahead and record another statement from the complainant saying that the report I made was false and I may have made it for whatever reason. But during investigations, yes, persons make false reports. They come in and say that something happened, but when you investigate, you find out that that's not what happened. So you need to inform the virtual complainant of your findings, and they may very well say to you, well, the report is false.
It would be interesting to hear later, for example, let's say if some of our men viewers call and say what they think about that. Could you imagine being accused of a sexual offense and it definitely didn't happen? How would you feel? Corporal, so someone has made a report at the VPT, let's say, of sex with minor. Okay? Can you take us through the investigative process as to what would normally happen, what you could say on camera? Because not everything the investigators could say, people, but what you could let us know in terms of that process.
Okay, firstly, when a report is made, individuals are interviewed thoroughly, the necessary action is taken. So if a report is made concerning a young person under the age of 16 years, somebody who's unable to articulate what happened to him or her, somebody who's not comfortable speaking in the presence of a police officer or to a police officer to tell them what happened or whether they refuse to give information, we would refer them to the Division of Human Services, where counselors are assigned to work with the child or the young person. In a case where a child or a young person has been a victim of sexual assault or physical abuse, he or she is referred to the Human Services for counseling. If the victim suffers from mental disorder, that person is referred to the National Wellness Center for a thorough evaluation of their mental status and their ability to stand trial. Victims of domestic violence are referred to the family court, whether they request police action or not. If a child or a young person is a victim of sexual assault, his or her household or domestic violence, he or she is referred to the Division of Human Services and Family Court to assist in the removal of that child from the household. So when we get a report of a sexual assault, the virtual complainant is interviewed. A medical examination will be done if it's necessary, depending on the report. So that would be maybe sex where intercourse is involved, where intercourse is reported. Statements are recorded from all witnesses. If there is sufficient evidence, an arrest is made and the matter is taken before the court.
Excellent, excellent, Corporal. You spoke of, maybe Sergeant, you might be able to handle this one. You spoke of the assistance in terms of a medical examination. I remember a couple of years ago on another television station, I had a particular individual from the vulnerable persons team who spoke of the challenges when it comes to the team getting, how could I say that? Getting the professional treatment needed when it comes to the medical examination or priority at our medical facilities. Has that changed, Sergeant and Corporal? Are we still having challenges when it comes to you taking a victim to our medical institutions for examination?
It has improved. From my information, it has improved slightly.
Okay.
What I notice is that we now have, because of the length of time we have been dealing with, the doctors and the medical practitioners who conduct the examination, we do have a good rapport with some of them, and we could give one a call and say, well, I have a situation, I have a report here, are you on duty, are you on call, can you assist? And the doctor may say to us, yes, if you come now, I can assist you. I may be going into surgery in the next hour. If you are able to come now, we can assist. Or, there's this other medical practitioner who's there now who would be able to assist. So I must say it has improved.
Okay, and I'm happy to hear that, but I believe that more could be done in this 2021. I still believe there's more that could be done, but we leave that for another show. I'm getting so many questions there already on the texting platform. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we will start opening up the lines, take some questions, and continue the interview with the members of the Vulnerable Persons team. Stay tuned to Police Insight.
Do you feel like you're drowning in debt? Have your sources of income been severely impacted and you have nowhere to turn? The St. Lucia Teachers Credit Cooperative Limited is here to save. With our rescue plan, we can consolidate your debt obligations into one easy-to-manage loan with affordable payment terms tailored to keep you afloat. Contact us today at 453-2538 in Castries or 454-7802 in Viewfort for further details. The St. Lucia Teachers Credit Cooperative Limited, an educated choice.
A perfect study break. Available at all KFC restaurants.
My mommy protected me and my little nephew when she got vaccinated.
My doctor is protecting me. She's vaccinated.
My aunt protected me when she got vaccinated.
COVID-19 vaccines are available for people from the age of 12 years and older. Being vaccinated against the virus does not only protect you, it also makes our country safer for those who cannot receive the vaccine.
Vaccinate for you, for yours, for us.
Ho, ho, ho! Tease the season of specials at Massey Stores Home with discounted items throughout the store. This week, 30% off select West Point refrigerators and washers. Save up to $500 off on select Whirlpool appliances. Plus, home essentials like curtains, beddings, dinner sets, and more. Up to 50% off. Higher purchases available. Specials end Thursday, November 25th. Dream to win big this Christmas with the Digicel Prime Bundle. The more you chat, watch, share, or dance to your favorite Digicel apps, the more chances you have to win thousands of Shake to Win prizes. Enter to win grand prizes of $15,000, $10,000 of free service for 4+4 smartphones. We are all winners with guaranteed win days. Play along. Buy a Prime Bundle in My Digicel to stream and win today with Digicel this Christmas.
Welcome back to Police Insight. Your host here, Sergeant Zachary Hippolyte. In studio with me, Sergeant Baptiste and Corporal Augustin from the Vulnerable Persons team. At the top of the hour, which is probably the next 5 or 4 minutes, we shall be opening the lines. But in the meantime, we will see if we could get some reactions or questions from the WhatsApp and Facebook texting platforms. So in the Facebook platforms, good night, I'm on, good program. Good night, Sergeant. Good job to you and your men, on your team, sorry. Someone says that you could have a child at the age of 16 but can't vote at the age of 16. So this person is not happy with this at all. Someone says 16 years is too young. Great show, officers. You are making us proud. LOL at Sergeant Hippolyte Sawedi. Your cousin is listening. Okay, and let's just check out. Because this is what we do, people. We always try to ensure those on the different platforms have their say. Someone here says, more like 21, laughing emoji. So I guess this person would like the age of consent to go up to 21 years old. Want to know if I ask her to stop, if she continues, is she ripping me? Can a woman rip a man?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Interesting. Okay, so viewer, the answer is yes. So a man can report. Oh, how does that happen? How? Because some people will ask, Corporal and Sergeant, how does a woman rape a man? How is that possible?
Remember, we're talking about consent. So if he says stop,
you gotta stop.
Yes.
Any guys ever made such a report?
No.
No.
You think?
Yeah. But that doesn't mean that men are not victims of sexual offenses. For example, when you look at the, how does the VPT deal with the LGBTQ community? Someone actually is asking that on WhatsApp. Does the VPT make them feel comfortable? What's the status?
The Vulnerable Persons team, like I said, one of the reasons why the team was established was to create an environment, a better environment to serve members of the public. And the Vulnerable Persons team does not discriminate. The doors of the team remains open to all persons, to members of the public, those who have been violated in the sphere of the matters that the team deals with. So we are open to investigating matters of from the LGBT community. My staff are very understanding and professional, and I must commend them for the way they execute their duties. And I believe that if they are tasked to deal with any matter, any report made by a member of the LGBT community, that they will deal with it professionally. In the event that a victim has a special request, say a victim wants to speak to a male officer, we can make the arrangements for the individual to speak to a male officer if this is what is going to make him comfortable and be able to recount, his encounter, his experience. We will do just that in order to accommodate him. So the VPT does not discriminate.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Sergeant. Corporal, I think we need to expand a little more on can a husband rape his wife? Because people, I mean, when we go to the religious ceremonies of weddings, it's usually said that we are now one. So, am I repeating myself? Can you expand on that, Corporal?
Yes, okay. A husband commits the offense of rape where he has sexual intercourse with his wife without her consent, by force, fear, or by the use of drug or thing with the intent to stupefy or overpower her, where there is in existence. So, a decree of nisi or nullity granted under the Divorce Act, a decree of judicial separation granted under the Civil Code, a separation agreement where the parties are in fact separated, or a peace-binding order, or an order for the husband not to molest his wife or have sexual intercourse with her, including a protection order from family court. So,
okay, hold that point, Corporal. We have our first call of the evening. Good night, caller.
Mr. Zachary, good night.
What's up, my brother? Thank you for calling the show.
Oh, boy. Mr. Zachary, good night.
Talk to me. Good night.
Hi there, boss. Yeah. As them ladies said, they look innocent. But I have to come down hard on them.
You want to come down hard on them?
Yeah, because
they're police
that's the
officers.
thing they say, I have to have it, you know.
Uh-huh.
For example, for example, Mr. Zachary, first of all, I want to ask the ladies there, because they the VBT, right? VBT team, right?
Yes, vulnerable persons team.
How many women they have charged for dropping children to battle anywhere? How many?
How many women that do what?
They have charged for dropping their babies or the children anywhere.
Or charge
Yes.
for, was that abandonment or neglect?
Right. How many?
Well, I'm not sure if, Corporal, are you able to answer that in terms of...
I think we had one instance, but it would need to be reported for us to investigate. It would need to be aware of it for us to investigate it.
If they're not aware, they will not be able to investigate, and maybe people's not...
Anything that happened in this country?
What? You just said that? Where are you hearing that from?
Let me go again. Tonight, we're going, I go in there tonight with you. Bon. How many again of the women they have charged for false accusation, saying the man raped them? Because something happened last year there, I know very well happened, where the girl, okay, let me tell you what happened. A girl taking her thing, go, I'll be there. But because the neighbor saw her living in the fellow house, you go to the man rape her, and that's wrong. So, you have been taking that thing a long time. So, how many women you're charged already for that? Tell me.
You see, what happened, Nicola? I'll take that one on. Sometimes, when women, some women, when they act that way, make false reports, sometimes what we will do as police officers is go beyond the thinking, why this person has done that. Now, to charge them, to criminalize them, though I agree there are sometimes we should make, because we can't charge people for wasting the police time.
Right.
We can do that. But sometimes the officers will take in consideration all the factors and different stuff, and they will just refer the matter to another agency.
Yeah. Okay. Let me go again.
You have one more?
Yeah,
you have other callers, eh? Two more. Well, let's hurry.
Mr. Zachary, I have a problem with that consent business.
Consent?
Yes.
Okay.
It should be either 21 or 18. That's number one. to vote is 18 years.
Yeah.
To get married, your parents have to come and sign for you.
Yes.
That's true.
You don't agree with that law? Because it's still there.
To vote is 18.
Yes.
To get married, your parents have to come and sign for you. So you should tell your parents tell you how to have sex. Isn't that so? Now, that's all I'm about to tell me. Man, no, in the reverse. Oh, man can rape a man. Sister, that's wrong, you know. Can't wait me. Let me tell you why. Officers, you're not there. If I have a gun to a man's head, tell me, right? Because you have to rape somebody, you have to get hard. So you go wait. Officers, if, let me marry. If you have a gun to a man's head, how are you getting hard? Tell me. If the man gets hard, he holds this thing. So you ain't rape him, he take his thing. So that one, so I'll be foolish to tell a police, oh, one rape me. So I'm sending this thing out there to any woman. I want to be raped. I want to try to see how it's feeling. See, I don't know how it's feeling.
You want to know?
Yes, because Mr. Zachary under this, rape has to take penetration. You have to be hard.
Well, Well, that there's a debate out on that, caller, because sometimes fear can cause the man to have an erection or some type of reaction, you know.
Mr. Zachary.
Yes.
Mr. Zachary, you fool. A gun by your head, how you getting that? Tell me. Huh? Tell me. So, Mr. Zachary, if you get had, you wanted your thing. You don't say anybody refuse.
But don't forget, the main point there is consent. And if the woman puts a gun by the man head, that's another offense already.
Amen.
Now she's in more trouble.
Zachary, good
night, my brother. Take care. Thanks for calling. Yes, thanks for calling. Yes,
right, so it was saying, right?
Yes.
For the husband or the wife for the husband to rape the wife or for the wife to rape the husband, there must be an existence of these things, the decree nisi and judicial separation and stuff like that.
So what we're saying is, in the absence of there not being a decree nisi, like a divorce proceeding going on, the husband cannot technically rape his wife.
No.
Is that what we're saying there?
Yes.
In plain terms?
Yes.
But what are we telling the wife if in case, okay, so things are nice, the husband does do the act of having sex with her without, well, she didn't want it. What are we telling the wives that they can do? Despite the fact that there's no divorce proceeding going on, can they still come to the VPT and make a report, Sergeant?
Basically, according to the law, they would need to have a legal separation. Or if in fact they are not legally separated, but they are separated. There are some cases where they are not in courts going for a divorce, but the wife would have left the house, maybe living with her children, living separate from the husband. If there is indeed a separation, then it would be considered rape. If he forces himself.
We have a call? Okay, Sergeant, hold that point. Let's take that call. Good night, caller. Thank you for calling Police Insight. Talk to me.
Hi, good evening. Just a quick comment. I just would like to say to your guests that they've done a fantastic job tonight. And I also want to mention that I am aware of the nature of their duties. So I urge them to continue to be strong and courageous, and congratulations on the job well done.
Thank you so much, caller. Thank you so much. And just piggybacking on what the caller said, you will see our investigators here on the television. Yes, some it has even commented they're pretty and whatever the case may be. But these officers go through a lot. You am I correct, Sergeant? You have to be, to see and experience that what they go through on a daily basis in St. Lucia in terms of investigations, it takes a toll. And that is why I'm happy that the sergeant brought up the point where there are certain avenues in place for counseling for these officers. We have another call on the line. Let's take that call.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening. Thank you for calling.
Yeah, I would like to make a contribution.
Go ahead.
To the program that's going on.
Thank you.
Is that possible?
Yeah, sure. That's what it's about.
So can I hold on?
Please go ahead. You're already live on the show. Talk to me.
Somebody else is talking.
No, I think someone is listening. Whatever device you're listening to, you need to turn down the volume and talk to me, caller. You're live on Police Insight. Talk to me.
Yeah, hello?
Yes.
Okay.
She's listening. You're listening to yourself, caller. Talk to me. Have we lost the caller?
Hello?
Caller?
Yes, somebody else is talking.
Caller, you listen to yourself. Talk to me.
I have turned down the volume.
Okay, well, just go ahead. Just talk to me.
Good evening, officers.
Good evening.
I a long time ago, I learned that a woman is not able to rape a man, but she can seduce the man. So I'm learning something new tonight, that a lady can rape a man.
No.
Yes.
So I'm a little confused because she does not penetrate.
Wow.
Isn't that true?
We spoke about a husband and a wife raping a husband, a wife raping a husband, or a husband raping a wife.
But can a female rape a man also? Isn't the
Can
same
a
concept?
female rape a man?
We're talking about consent. So if the man says stop while they're at it, because they're already at it, if he withdraws his consent,
it's rape, caller.
Depending on what she's doing, she needs to stop.
Because I'm saying she can seduce, and I don't know what she might be doing, different things.
You see, caller, I think the problem we have understanding, because usually when we hear rape, we're thinking of penetration
Yes,
in terms
I'm
of the
thinking
male.
like that,
yes, but what we are saying is rape is about consent. So let's say, caller, you and I having sexual intercourse, yeah. And yes, I'm enjoying it, you're enjoying it, but the same way the woman can withdraw consent, I can withdraw consent.
Okay,
so I could say, I no longer want it. If you decide to continue or force me, then yes, I can report you for rape.
Okay, I understand.
Yes, that's what it is.
All right, well, thank you. It's an interesting program.
Thank you, caller. You learned something on Police Insight. Let's go back to the Facebook chat. Someone says, hey, great show. Someone is asking, is there a statute of limitation on sexual offenses? No? Okay, Rio, there is no statute of limitation on sexual offenses. Okay, let me go to the WhatsApp texting platform. Let's see there. Someone says here. Someone is saying yes. A woman can rape. I know a woman who is 55 years old and the boy is 31. So this is rape. No, we have a call. Viewer, I'll get back to you on that. Yes. Good night.
Good night.
Good night. Talk to me.
Yes, I just want to ask a question.
Go ahead, caller.
If there is a case where a lady report that, if there is a case where a woman report that a man raped her, and in the event of they having sex, that the woman have an orgasm, would that consider to be rape when she herself had an orgasm? That means she wanted it.
Ladies, you care to respond, or you want more clarification from the viewer?
Like the sergeant, the corporal said earlier, sorry. We are dealing with consent here.
Producer, I made no feedback for Chira. Myself, I don't know why. Go ahead, Sergeant. Viewer, do you have a device open? Your volume, can you turn it down so the sergeant could respond? Because we are in a feedback. Go ahead, Sergeant.
Like the corporal said earlier on, we are dealing with consent. If the female says that she does not want to continue, then it's rape if the male continues to have sex with her. If she has an orgasm, human beings, our bodies are designed differently. So she may or may not have an orgasm, but if she says that she no longer wants to have sex, if she withdraws her consent, then it's rape, regardless of she having an orgasm or not.
Excellent. There you go. And viewer on the WhatsApp texting platform, your statement about a woman being 55 and the young man being 31, that's rape. No, viewer. Even though the young man is 20, 19, that is not considered rape. They have consent to have sex. We have another call on the line. Good night, caller.
Yes. Mr. Zachary?
Yes.
Boy, you have me in a quandary tonight there. I hook by your TV there. They say them two ladies, they ain't easy. Now, Mr. Zachary, hear me well, eh? Rape and consent. Now, let me take up consent first, eh? the man and the lady consented, right, to have sex. Now, to have sex with the lady, you have to get hard, right? So my brother, you have to be a body, hard, coffee.
Yes,
So you're telling me the people consented to have sex, but even again had, and then she goes to the river. Come on, how it happened? Tell me, how it happened, sister? Tell me.
But caller, you know there are other offenses that have nothing to do with the penis penetrating the vagina. Yeah. There are other offenses.
Consent and rape. I didn't need sex. I didn't need penis and vagina. I didn't need other sex. I didn't need penis and vagina. There I go in. I don't go in 69 or 89, no. I go in penis and vagina. I see vagina, you must get hard. I get in hard, you go say I rape you. Go there. And we consented. I go to the soldier. Let me get a car, really do. I want to get hard. You don't move on you. I get hard. Tell me how happening. You're against mine.
Well, caller, to put that to rest, here is the thing. The nice thing about it is that the officers from the VPT, whatever the circumstances is, the information given, they record it, they take the evidence, and most times they're not the ones on their own making the decision who to charge. They would get instructions from the DPP's office in making a determination as to if someone should be charged or not. Yeah?
Any degree of penetration. Any degree of penetration.
And hear what the officer said. Any degree of penetration is sex. So whether you put the tip, whether you put a little bit, it's sex.
You have to, Mr. Zachary, you're wrong.
No, not as wrong. That's what the law says.
That's a wrong law.
That's a wrong law.
Wrong law. Mr. Zachary, you got turned up. You hadn't had. Eh?
Oh my God. Anyway, caller, thank you.
That's a lost case.
Caller, we're going to take a break. Thank you. Thank you. All right, caller. Let us take a break, ladies and gentlemen. When we come back, we will continue with the show. Stay tuned to Police Inside.
Hey, Onyx. They promoted to janitor, man.
Kidel, look bien hardy. Just so you can ask you they promote you to janitor. Kidel, you forgetting yourself.
But I see you cleaning up what's going on.
Kidel, Christmas is coming.
Oh yes, Prizes of Christmas.
That's right, my boy.
Right here on Choice TV.
9 p.m. every Thursday.
Prizes galore.
Prizes galore, my boy.
Galore, yes, that's true. And remember, you have to observe the protocols.
Protocols, Lucky Del.
No, you have to
sanitize your mouth. You might be skip about protocols.
You have to stay at your home, top up your phone, make sure your landline is connected.
Not one way.
You make sure you sanitize your hands, your attitude, and keep it locked to Choice TV.
And don't forget all of the Christmas trivia. We have new questions for you, like what boxers was Kidel wearing last year? Thursdays of Christmas, every Thursday at 9 p.m. on Choice TV.
Anyways, what are they? Vanilla? Prizes of Christmas right here on Choice TV.
That's right, every Thursday at 9 p.m. But I don't understand.
Right here, eh?
It's important. It wasn't a coconut one, just saying, you know.
We heard you missed us, and we are excited to be back with Lifestyles with Candy Nicholas on Choice Media Network. We have great information on how to enhance your health and well-being. So join us every Monday at 7:30 p.m. as we discuss with experts on disease prevention, healing, staying fit, aging gracefully, the right foods and tools for health optimization, and keeping beautiful inside and out. Life-changing information, plus opportunities to win amazing health and wellness-related gifts. Join us Mondays at 7:30 p.m. Lifestyles with Candy Nicholas, only on Choice Media Network.
Welcome back to Police Insight. Your host here is Sergeant Zachary Hippolyte. The number is 456-0306, and we have another call on the line. Good night, caller.
Hi, good night.
Good night. Talk to me.
Well,
yes, good night.
Good night. It's been 2 years since we had some some false sexual charges brought up against us, especially a son of mine, leading to the death of my son.
Oh.
I'm still confused about everything because the police was involved. It was a fight down thing, and my son ended up being killed by the victims. The victim, she wasn't a victim, but that's how I see it for now. That's the word I can use for now. The alleged victim, yeah. My son was killed by the brother. And we went back and forth to the station, to everything. Did everything we could. And nothing happened. We got free with nothing. Went to lawyers, to everything, until my son was finally killed. So I want to know. I know it's 2 years late, but I want to know what could I have done? What can I do now about that?
Would you care to say the name of your son, caller?
My son was Stephen Octave.
Stephen Octave. I think I remember that matter.
Yes, my son was Stephen Octave.
Yeah. What I wish to tell you, caller, is that, and you said no one was charged in that matter?
No, the one who killed my son, he was arrested. But then, leading to my son's death, we kept going up and down. He would attack my son, would go to the station, and every time would meet those officers they had a blind eye to us. I got to the point, my son got to the point where he told Mommy, seeing that the police are doing, the police doesn't even want to see us, or the police are not doing anything for us.
You see, caller, I do not know about your situation. There's one thing I know that sometimes happens. Sometimes when your son was going through the issues with the individual, did you all ever ask to go to court, or was it warnings?
Yes. When I went, I think once the officer told us that the officer or a lawyer, they told us that if we had to take it to court, since there was no rape or anything like that, because the girl was never raped, we never did anything to this people. Just a lie they trumped up against us just to destroy us. And the officers, imagine, it was even on the media where the officers went out to say that this girl was not raped. And then the family kept pushing it. The neighbors kept pushing it, picking on us and stuff, until it was like nobody believed us, nobody cared. And the lawyer told us that even if we took it to court, that's what they told us, even the officer, they told us even if we took it to court, since there was no rape, and when the judge got to it, the judge will see that these people have no money to pay us off, and we'll be wasting our money looking for lawyers and everything, taking it to court, because it would have to be high court. It have to go to high court and stuff like this. It's as if everybody was just giving us a runaround. When we went to the station, it was a runaround. Everything was just strange.
All right, caller, here's what I could tell you, caller, because it would be difficult for me to comment or give proper advice without me knowing all of the issues or background story. Me, and Inspector Chico being in charge of the Community Relations Branch, we also have a program called a Victim Support Program. I would like to invite you to come and see me at the office. Can you take down my number?
Yes.
It is.
Yes,
It is 72.
Just a sec. Let me get a pen.
No problem. And that's what the show is about, people. Persons have the opportunity to air their grievances, and we, the police.
Yes, can I have it?
So it is 72 00
00
401
401.
Yes, please call me or WhatsApp me so we could make an appointment so you meet, so I could listen to your grievance and we could take it from there, okay?
Okay, thank you so much.
No problem, ma'am. Have a good night. Yes. Let me see in the chat there. I'm not even going to say that. Let's speak about advice, officers for women, especially women on blind dates. Can we give some advice to our women?
A blind date is a social engagement with a person one has not previously met. This type of engagement, it bears a level of risk, and it also presents the opportunity for the commission of crimes. Pedophiles and other sexual predators use such opportunity to fulfill their agenda of violating others. Women who are brave enough to venture into blind dating should bear these things in mind. If they're going on a date, they should inform a friend, a family member, that they are going out, the location that they are going. They should avoid isolated areas. They should also be mindful as to their response to the individual. If say the female is not in favor or does not like the individual, she should be mindful how she deal with the individual, because just cutting it abruptly may prompt that person to attack her. And it is always advisable that women, when venturing out on a date, you need to be aware of what's happening around you. Pay attention to detail, the description of the individual, the clothing, the vehicle that the person is traveling on or you traveled on. It's important that women pay attention to what's going on around them, especially on a blind date.
Thank you, Sergeant Corporal. We are already pressed for time. Let's give us advice for parents to their children, signs of abuse, etc.
Okay, parents need to be vigilant as it pertains to the well-being of their children. In order for a parent to deal with abuse, the parent has to be composed. As difficult as it may be, it is necessary to maintain a clear head. So there are many different types of abuse, but the purpose of this show, I will limit my answer to sexual abuse. The parent needs to speak to the child and get a clear picture as to what exactly transpired. The parent may have to question that child repeatedly in an effort to determine whether the child is speaking to the truth and to ensure that the story that the child is giving is the same. Inquire about possible witnesses, persons they may tell, persons they may confide in, maybe at school or whatnot. The parent must keep in mind that the child may not necessarily report the matter immediately, because sometimes the child is threatened, persons offer them monies or stuff and tell them not to speak and stuff like that, or depending on who the perpetrator is. Always look out for signs such as changing behavior, attitude, the tone of voice, level of aggression. Both boys and girls may not want their parents to bathe them. Sometimes it may not necessarily have it's a case where they become more mature, but it might be a sign that they are hiding something or something has happened to them and it may bring back memories and they may not want certain people to touch them in certain areas. Parents and guardians should bear in mind that in most cases of sexual assault, sometimes the family member, the offenders are a family member, a friend of the family, a romantic partner, friend, or acquaintance of the victim. If you are being abused, please report it to the police.
That's right.
Tell someone you trust, a responsible adult, your teacher, your principal, your counselor, but report all abuse.
Excellent. Now, closing remarks as we're ending. Corporal, I'll start with you. Brief closing remarks. Or was that your closing remark?
I just want to thank the listeners for listening in today. I hope that they were well informed on the offenses that we investigate, and they will report all abuse to the police, sexual abuse to the police.
Thank you, Corporal Sergeant.
I would like to take this opportunity to thank our viewers and listeners for tuning in this evening. I'd also like to thank you, Sarge, for having us on Police Insights. I'd like to thank the Royal St. Lucia Police Force on a whole. I would also like to commend the staff of the VPT, both in Castries and Viewfort, for a job well done. They continue to put their best foot forward and perform their duties professionally. I would also like to take this opportunity to make an appeal to school counselors, teachers, community health aides and nurses, doctors, guardians, social workers to report, to make the VPT aware of any matters which the VPT deals with, so we are able to assist the public to the best of our ability. And we can only do that when we are aware of what is happening. So we need to be vigilant, parents, teachers, counselors, and report the matters to the VPT. Thanks again, Sarge, and thank you to the great team, VPT, where we add value, we add purpose, and we transform the lives of those who walk through the doors of the VPT. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sergeant, and thank you so much for all those who commented, who called, who contributed via WhatsApp, via Facebook, who called Choice TV. I would like you to stay safe. Don't forget, something is wrong, make that report, call the police, call the VPT. Until next Tuesday, stay safe. Good night.